try to tell me in the morning about the break of day. If you don't go to work, how you gonna get your pay? I leave soon in the morning with my million clients. On a Saturday I come home and I try to satisfy everybody. They got the work to draw the pay.
Every morning, day after day, week after week, nearly 250,000 American workers begin their working day in the nation's iron and steel foundries. The Federal Occupational Health and Safety Administration estimates that 1 out of every 3 full-time foundry workers will be injured every year, more than twice the injury rate of other manufacturing jobs. 1 in 1,000 of those workers will die from their injuries. In round figures, the foundry industry averages 70 deaths and 70,000 injuries every year. The severity of those injuries ranges from minor to gruesome. Third-degree burns, crushed limbs, and amputations are common. Countless other workers are deafened, crippled, or killed by foundry hazards for which there are few statistics. Hearing loss, cancer, chronic lung disease, heavy metal poisoning, silicosis, and heart disease can result from working in the foundry industry. But no one knows the extent of these diseases. There are no federal studies on the occupational disease rate for foundry workers.
When I heard the big bell ring, I couldn't do nothing but have the blues to get up and I began to sing. I gotta go to work this morning. I gotta work else to leave. What the things that I'm gonna do next, I guess I'll just have to wait and see.
Foundry work consists of several specialized but interlocking jobs. All require heavy labor and all can be hazardous. Crushes, burns, and entrapment in machinery are constant threats. Less easily detected are hazardous levels of dust, silica, formaldehyde, carbon monoxide, metal fumes, and exhaust fumes. One recent foundry survey showed silica levels to be 2 to 4 times higher than the maximum allowed by law. Hazards are magnified because many foundries are old and their equipment is out of date. And due to tight production schedules, safety and maintenance programs are irregular at best. Workers say that foundry production deadlines often require jerry-rig repairs and the operation of unsafe machinery.
Well, the accident happened when the plant was new. We moved into it and a lot of the conveyor belts wasn't covered. So this is where I got caught at the end of the conveyor belt. It didn't have no cover over it.
How did it happen?
Well, I had a glove on my hand and it's going by. It got caught under the main wheel and it just rolled right up to the neck, pulled the shoulder and arm all right off. Once your hands get that far under the main roller, you can't pull it back because it's going from you. So it just slowly rolled right on up. It's not fast, slowly. So I was 15 feet overhead, and it had done happen, but blood began to drop down on the individual that was working under me. And when they noticed it, then they had the belts cut off, and then they came up. I imagine it was about 10 minutes, 15 I was in there before they found that out. If the conveyor belts had been covered on the end like they should have, this would have never happened because I'd have never been able to get caught at the end of the main roller. See, the other little rollers between, you can't get caught, but this was the main roller at the end.
An iron or steel casting begins with the making of a mold. A form containing a handmade model of the casting is packed with sand, and then the sand is compressed. The sand is mixed with sugar, molasses, or plastic resins to keep the mold stuck together after it's removed from the compressing machinery. Burns, back injuries, and crushing accidents are common. The human body offers little resistance to the mechanical might of the molding machinery. One careless moment and a worker can be maimed for life.
I was flipping clothes a mold, and I had one on the machine here about ready to take off. All I had to do was to squeeze it and clearing off the top and draw it. I turned around to squeeze it and stumbled, and I had hit the squeeze button, and I grabbed for the head and grabbed under it, and came up and caught my hand. We were rushing, trying to get a job ready to pour it. When you get in a hurry, trying to rush, well, you forget about caution.
Although there are federal standards for protective guards on machinery, injuries still occur. Often employers do not provide guards, and safety standards are not rigorously enforced. Though molding injuries are severe, the dust, dirt, and fumes molders breathe may be an even greater hazard to their health. A study of automobile industry workers who had applied for workmen's compensation was compiled by a Detroit physician in 1973. The study revealed a considerably higher rate of chronic lung disease in foundry workers than in other auto workers, and molders, grinders, and sand mixers are the workers who are most subject to silicosis, a painful, crippling disease of the lungs caused by inhalation of silica dust. While the molders are making the molds and the molds are being moved to the casting floors, in another part of the foundry, the metal is being readied for pouring. The metal, either scrap or ingots, is melted in a huge furnace, which is fired either by electric arc or by coke. Extreme heat and high noise levels are a fact of foundry work. The American Foundrymen's Society reports that foundry machinery produces noise levels high enough to damage the hearing of constantly exposed workers. And the excessive heat many workers face can cause headaches, confusion, fainting, even convulsions and coma. As the metal melts, alloys and chemicals are shoveled into the furnace or are thrown into the molten metal. After the metal reaches the correct temperature for casting, the furnace is tilted and the molten metal is poured into a large bucket called a ladle. Often the furnaces and molten metal produce dangerously high levels of carbon monoxide during pouring, and heat from the pouring metal spreads dust, fumes, and carbon monoxide throughout the entire foundry. Many workers complain about the dust and fumes they breathe.
Well, you breathe dust all day. I mean, at the end of the day, you take a shower, you clean up, you clean your nose. I mean, you got dirt all in your nose, you know. I mean, you blow your nose, you got dirt all in it, you know. So, I mean, it's dust. I mean, they have what we call they got overhead shit, that stuff that's supposed to blow it out. But, I mean, you breathe dust all day long, all day long.
The dust is a combination of many things: iron, nickel, magnesium, and beryllium, to name a few. Sometimes the dust is dangerous, and sometimes it's only a nuisance, but it's always present.
I find myself coughing up this black saliva. You know, it takes quite a time. You work through it all week, and then over the weekend you have a few days out of it, you clear up. But, I mean, if you're not got a high elevation for this dust and stuff to escape, you're going to inhale it. You're going to inhale it, and you're going to spit it out.
After the metal is poured, the ladle is lifted away from the furnace by an overhead crane. The slag is poured off, and the molten metal is moved through the foundry to any of several casting floors. Then the metal is either poured directly into a waiting mold, or it's transferred to smaller ladles for the smaller molds on the side casting floors. Workers who pour molten metal face different dangers than their co-workers in other parts of the foundry. Ultraviolet radiation from molten metal can severely damage unprotected eyes. Burns are common. Molten metal explodes when it hits water or cold surfaces. Water vapor in a closed piece of scrap pipe can blow up a furnace. Moisture in a sand mold can blow out, sending molten metal flying on nearby workers. In 1974, the state of Wisconsin conducted a study and found burns to be the 5th most common accident in foundries. Lunch provides a short break from the stress of the foundry. The combination of heat, noise, fumes, and heavy labor fatigue workers quickly. A tired worker is careless, less aware of hazards, and prone to overexertion. Strains and overexertion accounted for 20% of the injuries studied in the Wisconsin study. Yet many foundries have no rest breaks because of tight production schedules, and lunch may be only half an hour with no rest area or lunchroom.
I have been burnt before several times, but I only had one injury on the foot. This particular time, I was wearing a lace boot, and was pouring a squeeze of mold. So happened that the metal hit this cold weight was on there, and it blew up on me. And I got burned in the calf of my foot, and I will forget. And a lace shoe, when you're wearing a lace shoe and you're pouring metal ever gets inside of your shoe. Once it gets in there, you're going to be trying to twist this shoe to get off, and you're going to cause yourself more damage. Whether you had a gator shoe, you could kick it, and off it goes, and would prevent you from getting burnt as worse as you would if you have a lace shoe. Because the lace shoe, all they do is, when you got this thread, you pull this thread, trying to get it loose, and you're only moving this hot metal moving around that place, so you got a problem.
Lace boot burns from molten metal are extremely common. Protective foundry shoes are available, but many employers fail to make sure their workers wear them. The cause of a burn is obvious, but the invisible dangers in the casting operation are just as deadly. Hidden hazards include fumes and vapors from chemicals used to prepare molds and molten metal. Those fumes and vapors are frequently poisonous. Some can cause cancer, and many can damage the lungs. John Fuentes was a burner in a foundry until last year, when he was forced to retire because of lung damage. He presently lives on compensation he won after a 4-year legal battle. Fuentes is lucky. His doctor recognized the symptoms of emphysema in time to save Fuentes' life.
Well, they tell me there's 50% of my lungs gone, 54%. But they said that it was about 30% cost of the foundry and 24% of smoking. Sometimes I get up at night, jump up where I'm not breathing at all. And that scares the heck out of me. I just take great big gulps, like I says I must have came back from heaven or hell, wherever I've been.
Although smoking adds to the risk, studies show that foundry workers who don't smoke develop lung disease at 2.5 times the expected rate. And lung disease is not only debilitating, it also contributes to heart disease.
Well, it's bad enough that you can't work no more, can't do nothing. Can't even go out there and dig, can't even wipe walls. You just can't breathe if you do them things, You just got to stay around. I even try to go fishing and can't even go up and down the levee. Just gets you all pooped out, all tired. And Then it ain't only that. It's that caused my lungs from pumping enough blood into my heart where I've got a heart disease now. And from that I got gouty arthritis. That's three things that emphysema gave me. But I don't know what else to say about that. The only thing I'd like to say about it is that a lot of people in the foundries, they just won't fight this, you know. They just won't go and try to get a lawyer. They die first, you know. I had a couple of friends over there that one was 46 and the other one was 58, and they died off of that. But they already had their case going to court, and they died before that happened. All they gave the wives was the insurance money. That's all they got out of that. But I was fortunate enough that I fought it all the way, and I got a little, but really not enough to live on, you know.
The last stop on a casting's journey through the foundry is the knockout shop. Here the burrs and rough edges are removed from the casting by workers operating torches and grinders. Those workers have the highest injury and disease rate in the foundry. The Wisconsin study reports that 1/3 of the machine-related injuries are caused by grinding machines. Uncovered grinding wheels spinning at high speeds can explode. Injuries to the eyes and amputations are more common in the knockout shop than any other part of the foundry.
Oh yeah, red smarter people get hurt. I have seen a lot of them get killed here. Several guys got killed. We had one crack business was killed here this year.
How they get killed?
Oh, he was working on this sand machine back here and got caught in the belt. So he stayed in the hospital about 2 months, and after that, he passed away. So I have seen several of them get killed. I've seen them get killed by grinding, stuff like that. Rock bust on a swing grinder, 20 minutes stomach, get him dead. Yeah. I've seen that since I've been here. Oh, I've seen a lot of accidents, but fortunately I've been lucky enough not to even have one.
New chemicals and processes are constantly being introduced in the foundry industry. Most have not been tested to discover either their danger levels or their effects on the human body. For example, very little is known about the hazards of plastic resins or their decomposition products. What is known is that foundry workers are exposed to many of these chemicals, and statistics show that foundry workers die younger than other workers of their age. Furnace men, grinders, and chippers have almost twice the death rate of non-foundry workers. Without action from workers and employers, the working environment in foundries will not change. How long will it take? How much disease? How many deaths and injuries will there be before a worker has the right to work in a clean, safe place?
Hey, bossman, can't you hear me when I call? Hey, bossman, can't you hear me when I call? Well, you ain't so big, you just thought I thought. Got me waking, bossman, breaking around the fire. I want a little rain or water, but you won't let Jimmy down, big boy. Can't you hear me when I call? Well, you ain't so big, you just talk.